and only shot we'll have to explore the Pluto system.
We've been waiting 12 years since we wrote the proposals to do this rehearsal. It's the last big step before we can do the encounter.
We think that we are about 10 million miles out from Pluto and closing.
But so far, so good. We're off to the races.
Today is our 2,724th day in flight. This has been a long time coming, literally. I only want to say thanks for all the work. Let them eat cake.
July 12th, 2013, standing in for July 14th, 2015. This is it, a minute-by-minute simulation of Encounter Day. It's make or break.
Well, it's the most important because we've best been spending the 24 hours of the most intense activities that we've been running on the spacecraft, and this is the longest that we've been out of contact since we've entered encounter rehearsal.
This may be a rehearsal, but New Horizons has been firing its thrusters and spinning in space, identical maneuvers to those planned for 2015. On Encounter Day, the spacecraft will be too busy taking data to send back images. That's why its first simple "I'm alive" message will be so important.
Sometime within the next minute, DSS 43 should lock up on the signal.
We're good. We're nominal. Spacecraft's nominal, and it looks like all the observations that we had planned between the last track and this track happened.
So this gives us good confidence that at least the spacecraft has been performing all of those twists and turns that we've been anticipating it to over the last 7 days.
I like to say that at the flyby, I don't want to be learning anything about the ground system or the spacecraft or the team. I want to be learning only about the Pluto system.
No spacecraft has ever been to Pluto, nor will ever go back in our lifetime.
Pluto is every child's favorite planet. You know, you ask anyone under the age of 6, they're going to say Pluto.
We don't exactly know what Pluto looks like, but it looks very exciting from the images we have from the Hubble Space Telescope so far. We really can't wait to get there and see what it actually looks like. So if anybody says that Pluto is boring or not important, no way.
Before New Horizons arrives at Pluto, most everything we think we know about the planet and its moons is up for grabs.
Virtually every place we've sent a spacecraft on a first reconnaissance mission like this, that we find out that our Earth-based notions were flat wrong. So I'll tell you what we expect, but before anything, what we expect is to be surprised.
From the 1990s through today, Stern has been consistent in avoiding speculation.
You get the same answer everybody's gotten from me for almost 20 years. I don't make predictions, except for one. My best guess is we're going to find something wonderful.
But in the final months leading up to the July 2015 encounter, it's hard for most humans not to imagine what we'll see. Many planetary scientists, like Paul Schenk, base their expectations on what we saw when Voyager 2 reached Neptune, and specifically as it flew by its moon, Triton.
Voyager was a 10-year-long exploration of the outer solar system, and every time they got to a planet, it was basically the first time anybody had really seen those bodies. So when they got to Jupiter, they were greeted with enormous surprises. The erupting volcanoes on Io were just completely unexpected. And so when they got to Uranus, there were more surprises. The exotic trains of Miranda and Ariel, for example, were not expected. So by the time they got to Neptune, they were kind of accustomed to the idea that they were going to be surprised. And sure enough, Triton completely blew them away.
Bonnie Barati was at NASA's Jet Propulsion Lab as the first images of Triton, a moon of nearly 1,700 miles diameter, came down.
Triton was almost a twin of Pluto. It's about the same size, about the same brightness.
Originally, Triton was probably a Kuiper Belt object just like Pluto, floating around in space, but then it got too close to Neptune and it got captured by Neptune's gravitational field.
Recently, Paul Schenck enhanced the original Voyager data to create this detailed flyover of Triton.
It has odd patches and odd blob-like features, kind of like amoebas crawling around on the surface. Triton has very few impact craters. Its surface is extremely young geologically.
And it actually has geysers spurting material off into space.
Here is a body that is hundreds of degrees below zero. It's so cold, it's forlorn, it's barren. We just didn't expect to see this activity on Triton. It was quite a surprise.
If you just assume that Pluto was going to look exactly like Triton, which is the most similar object we know about, then you might expect to find a very interesting body.
But Triton is not the only dynamic ice world in the outer solar system. 16 years later, the Cassini spacecraft sent back images of Saturn's moon, Enceladus, about 300 miles across.
This is a tiny little moon, and Enceladus is actually a winter wonderland. It's very